In this episode of Crispo's Cliff, we will be building a Murphy bed for our shed. We have previously built this project in our house. We've done some cabinetry and it was made from much nicer plywood. The key of getting ready for something like this is making sure you run through the plan at home because we will not have access to tools or any equipment unless whatever we pack. Of course, we had our plywood delivered and that was the beginning of our project. As it got dropped off, even though this was lower grade plywood, I think it cost us more than what we had previously used up on a home project, and that was a much better grade plywood. As they're removing the plastic from the plywood, Nora's insisting on removing her jacket. Well, moment of truth, getting the generator going. Again, remember, there is no source of electricity yet. And it worked. The first step in the project is to cut slats that will be the foundation of the mattress. They should be cut from 1x2 poplar. We did not order poplar and we were making them from plywood. The challenge was that, of course, they come out not exactly square because we're using a circular saw instead of a table saw. And of course, it's really more structurally sound to make it from poplar. Another reason they should be made from poplar, pre-cut them the night before. One person could be assembling these L's for the slats, and the other person could be cutting the rest of the pieces, really shortening the time for this project. And of course, if they're made from 1x2 poplar, it would be really square, and assembling them will be very quick instead of me lining up, trying to twist them in place. But it worked. One more screw. Of course, there is a number of them every 8 inches. Once all of these L slats are assembled, and there's 4 or 5 depending on the size of the bed, it's time to assemble kind of the square for what will be the mattress foundation. Again, because we didn't cut this from poplar, squaring them up was something they had to do, but it's always good to have extra help in the process. At this point, that was the end of our first day as it started getting really cold and rainy. So on the second day, the first part we've done, everything was cut at that point, and we're working on the side rails of the
You
bed.
put the other one in? Here's the 2 little screws. And once everything fits, you take it back out.
I love doing it and then doing it again.
That's how it's done.
The way the legs are attached, you can't really put them in place once the whole assembly is done. So you really have to mark them, assemble them, and remove them because they will also be in the way during the assembly. So add them, take them off. While I am sanding the rounded edges, putting in the brackets on the other ends. These brackets will hold the pistons and connect the entire structure. Again, helps to have 2 people. One person can be adding plates and connectors, the other person sanding, but it's really not the reason to have 2 people. You will see why this project absolutely does require 2 people.
Yeah,
Are
perfect.
there just silver screws and machine?
Of course, in our case,
Over.
I'm also constantly checking the measurements and the dimensions.
Crispo square? Perfect.
All right, now the side rails are done, and now we're assembling the entire bed structure. So the key in this project is making sure everything's flush. Again, if you've got extra set of hands, one person could be pre-drilling, the other person could be assembling. It saves the time on the project.
Got those? Alright, give me one. That's it. That's it for now.
You have an extra assistant handing out screws.
You both need screws, I got them.
One more.
Really?
Again, keys to keep everything flush on every edge. So it's a little tricky, but not so bad.
Get some more from your pocket, okay?
Let's call it head and feet side instead of ceiling.
At this point, we're putting the entire mattress construction, the entire bed really, on the front of the bed. So when it's closed, you see that front. Again, the key here is keep everything flush and square. The plan calls for measuring a 1/4 inch on each side, drawing a line and squaring it off. I tend to have a good eye. It's also not so important, in my opinion, to center it because once it's open, it doesn't have to be exactly 1/4 inch on each side.
Go a little bit to me.
No, I just eyeball it.
Yep, perfect.
All right, and now the entire bed is done. There's of course the frame that holds it all to the wall. But at this point, what we're doing is we're deciding to paint the structure. And so we have artistic decisions whether we want rainbows or mountains. We have settled on mountains. One mistake I've made is I didn't pack enough brushes because I completely forgot that without running water, it's very hard to clean them. So even though I brought multiple colors, we could only work with one color because once we've made our brushes covered in that color, there was no way to properly clean them.
A little bit, okay? Shoot, Malish, okay?
I mean, I don't have any and I'm still painting.
We had some artistic disagreements on what color would go where, but we finally settled on the mountain structure. This is the assembly of the frame that goes against the wall, so the side panels.
This drill's done.
Positioning.
So I think it goes on this wall because this is the way we've been sleeping.
Okay.
The question I have is like, should we use it to cover the window to keep intruders out, or do we just put it over to the side?
I think we keep it over the side. I actually like the wall. I didn't hate the wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here it goes.
Yep. Clear everything.
And this is really the reason you need 2 people for this project. It is really impossible to do it without 2 people, even if you assemble it closer to where the bed would go in. At this point, the bed structure, the actual bed, is a couple sheets of plywood, 3/4 inch plywood, so it's pretty heavy. So you really need 2 people to drag it in place. Now this is the second time of us making the project, and this is the second time of us making the same mistake where we made two right panels because we looked at the plan and we didn't flip the plan for the second panel. So we had to redo one of the panels. At this point, putting the mattress covers on, the bed covers on, it's just 1/4 inch plywood, a couple of sides.
So they're saying 15 inches bottom edge. This first screw is 18 inches. The second screw 28 inches.
They sure make it sound.
You're right. We should have snapped
Now
some,
disassembling the
plastic
headboard.
caps, so
Yeah, I'm
we
not
should
sure
do
the
that.
placement of the screws is really that precise, so I wouldn't worry about it when you're building that project. Another pro tip, try not to have toddlers help you in this project. It might help with the amount of time you spend on the project.
Is we slide the bed
Slide the bed.
and raise the vertical.
Raise the vertical.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it's pretty much it.
And we're done.
Alright, you're supposed to lift all of this up.
Lift it up.
Yes.
And then what?
Put the header in. Clip it in.
Locks in.
Clip it in. And working from it. Well, I'm reading the instructions. Working.
No, it's not happening. No.
Plan suggests that you put the side panels up with the headboard holding it all connected in place. You clip the header to the structure and working from the top, assemble the header. It does make sense if you're gonna be building cabinetry around it and you also need to disguise the screws. In our case, we could just attach it from the ground. It didn't make any difference, and it definitely made it easier, but heavier.
Good job, Mom.
Oh my god, it cleared?
Clear.
That is incredible.
I mean, it's not the squarest thing I've ever made. It looks really good over here. This is a little roughy.
Alright, well, can we see the mountains again?
So another tip, do not put the pistons in until you have the mattress and the handle attached.
Alright, well,
You
can
need
put
something
one
heavier
more
on the
mountain.
structure to be
Sun
able
at
to
the
open
top.
it. The pistons are
Gonna come
pretty
nice.
strong.
Come on,
So as you
not the
see,
top
they're
row,
not
but
yet
this row.
attached until we put the mattress in.
Yay!
Now we have a bed in our shed.